Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I'm going to record a short video on how to make preparation for a lecturer in zoology. So most of the aspirants are asking me about this. So today here I'm to make this video to help them. And it is a very short video, and I will tell the aspirant all the important areas and books and how to study those books uh, in order to make their journey easier. So, first of all, one is required to work on his or her very basic concepts. Okay, and in basic concept we have FEC, no doubt. And FEC again, we have part one, okay, and part two. And part one, some chapters are more important and which are more related to zoology portion. For example, cell biology, okay. Similarly, biochemistry, okay, and the last chapters, which are mostly last chapters, mostly systems, including immunity and all that. Remember that here is kingdom Animalia, which is the most important chapter, or we can say that is a Beverly zoology. Okay, so I'll tell you, we should treat that chapter at higher level, and we should study that from higher level text. So I would recommend book later. Coming toward the part two, which is general physiology mostly, okay, and genetics and all that. And I would recommend to study this portion in very detail because it is more related to zoology. Okay. After done with the very basic concept, we have to delve deep into the study of zoology, and for that we need higher level text, higher level books. There are many different books which are available uh, for zoology, but the first book I would recommend is Miller and Harley. Okay, why I recommend this book? Because it is a to me, no doubt, it is the Bible of zoology. Okay. Secondly, in this book there is a very good comparative analysis of the things. Whole kingdom in Emilia has been divided in a very good manner, and there is a comparative analysis. So, and it is also a concise book, and most of the tests, if you see, so most of the questions are asked from this book. So this is the most important book. One has to go through it. Okay. Now, question comes to mind: how to read it? Okay, how to read it, or other way around, how I read this book. So I'm going to tell you that I started this book from the chapter of taxonomy. Okay, because in taxonomy you will be able to know how to uh, classify kingdom Animalia, how to classify kingdom Animalia first. What are the different aspects? What are the different aspects based on which we can classify kingdom Animalia, and what are the different approaches? What are the different approaches to which we take into consideration while classifying the kingdom Animalia? So that's why taxonomy is important. For example, if you are dividing the whole kingdom Animalia, classifying the whole kingdom Animalia, you are required to different criteria for that to divide it. For example, it could be whether this phylum or this animal contain vertebral column, vertebral column or not, okay, or what type of symmetry it has, okay, whether it is diploblastic, diploblastic. I'm talking about the body one, or triploblastic. Similarly, you can uh, say that whether it is radial symmetrical or bilateral symmetrical and whatever. Okay. You can also say that whether this animal which molds, we call them ecdysosome, or they do not mold, which we call lophotrochosomes. So you can also classify them based on whether it is protostome, okay, or deuteriostome, okay. You can also classify the kingdom Animalia based on the origin of the coelom, whether it is schizocellus, okay, or enterocellus. Similarly, you can say that whether there is coelom or they are pseudocoelomate or true-coelomate or acoelomate. So these are the different criteria through which we can divide, or based on that we can classify the whole kingdom Animalia. And this whole thing we call the architectural, architectural, architectural pattern of kingdom Animalia. So first of all, one is required to know it conceptually. Okay. For example, if you know these all criteria on which you are classifying the kingdom Animalia, and you can apply these all criteria into a phylum. For example, if I am talking about the phylum uh, echinodermata, or it could be anyone, okay. So you can say that what is its, whether it is vertebrates or invertebrate, okay. You can also say whether it is coelomate or acoelomate, okay. You can say its symmetry, okay, exception, whatever, and exception are here. I'm all talking about that, but I'm not going to teach you the whole kingdom Animalia, but I'm just talking about the plan or the roadmap how to work smartly. And you can also say whether it is diploblastic or triploblastic, whether it mold or not, deuterostome or, so all these criteria or the benchmark I have mentioned, so you can take them into consideration while classifying the whole kingdom Animalia. It will make your work easier. Now you take any phylum, okay, you can say 5 to it could be some 5 to 8 characteristic. You know 5 to 8 characteristic of all kingdom, of all the phylum, okay. Because these are the general scheme based on which we classify the whole kingdom Animalia. So it is the most difficult task in studying zoology, because most of the students are reluctant to study the classification, and it is very very easy, okay. And most importantly, uh, you study the 10th edition of the Miller and Harley, because it is the updated one, and the classification of this is also updated one. Okay, the next important thing you have to study as the evolutionary length, evolutionary length, or the position of a particular phylum and kingdom Animalia. So why it is important? Because it will give you a link, and a proper understanding of the thing. So, for example, if you studied prokaryotes, okay, you studied protist, and now you are going toward eukaryote cell, eukaryote cell. So how this protist could be the link between this prokaryote and eukaryote, okay. So if you study Miller and Harley entitle, there is boxes at the end or at the start of the chapter, and which there is the link always this evolutionary link is given. So also study that in very detail. But for this making of this proper link, I would recommend that before studying the taxonomy, one should study a proper link. For example, uh, how prokaryotes came into being. Okay, it is a paramount question. So before that, you should study the Big Bang theory. Okay, then the chemogenetic theory, which is the most acceptable theory. Okay, then you will come to know how did prokaryote originate, and after prokaryote, mm, uh, 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 after prokaryote originated, how this prokaryote uh, modified into a eukaryotic cell. Okay, so we have endosymbiosis, endosymbiont or endosymbiotic hypothesis or theory. After that, how this unicellular eukaryotic cell evolved into multicellular, or other way around, you can say how multicellularity arise from how did multicellularity arise from the unicellular eukaryotic cell. So again, we have two hypotheses. We have colonial hypothesis, and sensational hypothesis. But I'm not going to teach you the whole things, but I'm just providing a general scheme. So you prepared or you made a proper link right from the Big Bang, Big Bang, okay, to a multicellular animal, multicellular animal. Then you study taxonomy, okay, and study the different criteria based on which we classify the whole kingdom in Emilia. So you make the architectural pattern of the whole kingdom in Emilia. After that, you take, for example, one phylum. If you're studying a phylum Porifera, okay. So study its general characteristic, which are mostly the characteristics we have mentioned. Okay, and then you study its form form and function. And form and function, we are generally studying the its system, how it feed, how it excrete, how it respire and all that. Okay, how it reproduce. So there are different things that are happening constantly in a organism. It could be unicellular, it could be multicellular. So there could be a system which are responsible for undertaking that specific task, or there could be a cell even. So you have to remember that whether it is a cell, whether it is a tissue or organ or a system. Okay, at lower level there are mostly cellular tissue, at higher level there are organ, system and all that. So you have to remember all those cell organ which are responsible for different tasks within a organism. Okay, most importantly, you should study the notable examples of a particular phylum. It is out of question that no one can remember the whole classification and the whole classes of a particular phylum. So you are supposed to study at least the notable example of some classes of the phylum. Okay, in this way, you can study diversity in a very detail, and it is um, worth mentioning that the most important thing in uh, lecturer zoology, we have diversity, and which is diversity one, okay, or we can say invertebrate. So this is how I provided you a very basic plan for studying the kingdom Animalia, particularly the lower animals or invertebrate. Okay, moving forward, I would recommend some other books which are necessary for studying for this preparation, which is Heckman. Heckman is a very class book, okay? But I have personally just studied its ecology portion, okay? Once you're done with your test, you could study it for interview and very detailed. It is a very good detailed read. so you should study that. But as far as test is concerned, I studied only its ecology portion plus its evolution portion, which was also very practical and reasonable, no doubt. The second book, which is P.S. Verma and Agarwal. P.S. Verma and Agarwal is again very important read, and I found its evolution really unmatched and unparalleled. It was fantastic. Okay, uh, almost all theories are mentioned here, and they have provided proper criticism for a particular theory and a very reasonable ground and practical ground for believing in evolution. Okay, and similarly, the genetics is also uh, excellent, which is mentioned in this book. Moreover, you can study uh, Campbell biology, Campbell biology for cell biology. So these are the some important books which should be taken into consideration while preparing for the lectureship. Uh, I would also recommend some YouTube channel, but at a time I remember Neela Bagodi tutorial, which is a Indian, and she provided excellent lecture on zoology and general physiology. So study it. It is very good YouTube channel. I have made notes of almost all portion of the zoology from this channel, but it is not necessary. It is not enough to study YouTube channel. One has to study books and detail to pass the written or the MCQs test. Okay, and studying books is also necessary for interview, no doubt. I also studied Topper's website for practicing MCQs. It is also important. Okay, one another important thing, uh, Karban MCQs. If you study phylum, for example, you studied X phylum, XYZ phylum, okay, and then study in Miller and Harvey book, then study the same phylum and Carbon book. And Carbon book, they have mentioned the most important points of that phylum, and then they have made some MCQs on that phylum. So you study that particular phylum in the Miller and Harley, then you studied its important points from Karman book, and then you practice at MCQs. So it means you have covered the phylum from its major portion. You have covered it. Okay, so this is the most beautiful method. You can practice it. At the end, I would say that I would make a separate video on classification of kingdom Animalia, in which I will classify the whole kingdom Animalia based on different criteria, which I just mentioned. So see you again. Best wishes for your preparation and your test.